Welcome to episode 72 of the Panty Nectar podcast. It is your host, Panty Nectar, here, and joining me is Mr. P.
Hello, Panty Nectar. It's so great to be here with you on episode number 72. We always say this, but I can't believe it's been this many, so thank you for joining us once again. I know we have new listeners because we hear it all the time on our social media of people just tuning into the podcast for the first time. And then there's listeners who've heard every episode from day one to current. So thank you so much. Today, Panty Nectar has a very, very interesting episode. It's something that doesn't really get talked about a lot. But for many, especially amongst men, right? Like men are usually not the most communicative people, right? Like we kind of keep things inside, hidden. Our emotions aren't always on our sleeves like women who generally are just more open and outspoken about the way you feel. So,
Or the things you're into.
Or the things you're into, exactly. And it kind of flows all in together, right?
Yes.
And so today, Panty Nectar has chosen to talk to you about cages. And people right now may be thinking about like Elon and Zuck getting in the cage and fighting, that thing that was supposed to happen that never did. Not that type of cage. We're talking about cock cages, right?
Cock cages. That sounds like a chicken cage or something.
Yeah.
Cock cage.
So you often get contacted from men who, and the thing is men of all variety, right? You have like masculine men, you have very submissive beta men, who many are into this, right? But they all kind of come from a different angle as well. So tell us a little bit about what you know about cages, Panty Nectar.
So first off, I want to shout out to our robes right now. This, this isn't, this is by choice, but this is also by demand. I had a lot of messages from people saying, please wear your robe for another episode. So I guess if you're going to twist my arm, I'm going to please you guys. So here's the robe. Shout out to the robes this morning. We are excited to bring you another episode, and this episode is all about cages. Big shout out to my SPH community, my fans in the community. This is something that I don't think is talked about enough, or if it is, it's kind of under the radar, and a lot of people don't know about it. I love going to the gym and like talking to the guys there that I know, and like they're so naive to what is out there, and I'm like, you guys have no clue. And here we are talking about cages. Cages is probably, I put out on a few of my social medias asking for people to write in if they like experienced it, if they currently do. What about it turned them on? And I had a pretty good response of people message me back. So that was kind of nice to see, like people were willing to be open about talking about it. So thank you if you were someone that wrote in with your experience. I really appreciate that.
People are very comfortable in the DMs sometimes.
Yes, very comfy.
It's like,
I see
whoa, we're not even talking about that. It's like you talk about it, it's like, man, where'd this topic come from? But
yeah, so I had quite a few people write in. One of those was actually on Twitter, or X. Oh my gosh.
X.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I
X.
disappoint Elon so much when I say the T word.
I think you need to send harder for Elon. I think that's what it is.
I'll send him a free trial link. Okay, so one of my fans, he wrote in and said, where to start, first off. That tells me that there's about to be a lot of juicy info here.
Boy.
So he says, how it started. Myself and girlfriend at the time were a pretty kinky couple. She was into pegging, which we did weekly amongst the rest of things. We were always into edging too, and a bit of denial. I'd spend a week or so at a time not coming for the intensity for both of us while being pegged. Then we discovered the added level of denial that chastity could bring. There was something about the added frustration that not being able to really get hard brought that made everything more intense. We, of course, unlocked a lot as she couldn't go too long without a good fucking, can relate. But the dynamic shifted to a more intense femme-dom dynamic. Fortunately, I loved giving oral and she loved receiving, which helped a lot too. That's where chastity really took off. I've been locked in a relationship and outside of a relationship for years now. That dynamic has varied, but the girls, it's been a femdom/pegging type arrangement, often more casual. And with guys, I've just been a power bottom. Power bottom. I've never heard that term before. A power bottom, which has suited me well. Over time, I gradually started wearing the cage more and more. I'm very fortunate that I also learned to come from anal. It's 10 times, see, this is what y'all don't want to talk about. But I'm talking about it. I've also learned to come from anal. It's 10 times more intense than an orgasm from wanking, and I was hooked. Wanking.
Wanker.
Wanker. If I unlocked at this point, coming from wanking almost made me anxious. I feel like I have to swap out that word now so we don't laugh. Swapping or from wanking almost made me anxious, and it was definitely a disappointment. Ooh, so he ruined his, or maybe not ruined. Maybe that's a bad term to use.
Well, it just lessened the pleasure, I guess, because now he had a whole nother thing to compare it against, right?
Yeah, that was better.
As opposed to wanking, he's now getting pounded in the ass and coming, right?
Loves it.
Yeah.
The intensity of anal after not coming for a week or more is another level. That takes us to 2019 in the online chastity community. Locktober, in quotes, is quite big. It's about locking for the whole month as a challenge. Ooh, and we're coming up on October.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Now get ready.
Ooh.
Lock your dicks.
Maybe we'll do like a little contest for who can stay locked the longest.
There's no fucking way. There's no way.
It's about locking for the whole month as a challenge. I loved it and realized life became better. Everything more intense, but it's in your head too. You can be more focused with work, exercise, gym, everything. December 2019, I decided to see how long I could lock for, and since then, other than changing cages a few times, I've been locked for more than a few. I have not been locked for more than a few hours.
Can we pause just for a second?
Yeah.
He's talking about becoming more focused.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if it's like popping an Adderall and like that's all you're just focused on is just your dick locking a cage. Like you're walking through the fucking grocery store. And it's just like, you know what I mean?
I think he's saying when you don't worry about it, you don't even focus on that anymore. Like,
but how can you, man? So you're not worried about it?
You should try it.
No,
that would never work. No,
you think I should?
No, because I would never be able to go longer than a few hours.
I bet there's people who would be like, "Oh, Mr. P, we'd love to see you in a fucking cage for
they
like
would,
a week."
Yeah. No, they would, but
there's no way
I couldn't wait that long.
Like,
I'd be like, okay, it's been 5 minutes, take it off.
Yeah. So two part. Like, I'm kind of curious to see what my dick would look like in a cage because I'm just like curious.
Like a metal one.
Yeah.
Me too.
But
I'm curious.
But then the next part of that is like I don't want to keep it on for any extended period at all.
You should just see.
And by extended period, I mean like 5 minutes.
You would like get on Reddit and your dick would fucking get hard and you'd be screwed.
It would be fucking coming through the side, those little sides of it, you know, fucking like cutting itself and shit. Fuck it. Oh, man,
okay, he says.
That has to be like, you know, respect to the guys who have their dicks locked up because it's something I can't do.
You guys are good boys.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Okay, he says, I'm not in a relationship, but there's guys and girls that I play with regularly and I masturbate with my ass. This turned into like a ass.
Masturbate with my ass. So this is the same story.
Yeah. It's definitely made me want to serve/be dominant. Hopefully that's of some useful insight. And then he said, if it's worth adding, it's not entirely about being submissive. This is what I think gets twisted in it a lot, is like guys feel like they can't be in a cage because it relates directly with being submissive.
Yeah.
And letting a woman be assertive over you.
And that's kind of my perspective, right? That's like, at least like, I'm like, if I put my dick in the cage, that means I'm a little bitch and I'm about to get bent over and fucked in the ass as well. And it's
I'll fuck you in the ass.
I know you've been wanting to. Like,
okay. He said, he goes, it's mostly the added intensity. I'm regularly the one who dominates too in any kinky situation you can imagine, which is probably why he called himself a power bottom. There's much more to sex than just fucking. I do miss it sometimes, but the rewards of being locked by far outweigh the costs. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with me. And I think that was like the best message I got, because I feel like that was some insightful information. I also had someone write me on Reddit. You will remember this because I told you about this. But this guy wrote me that was like actually an alpha in his tech. He worked in tech. He didn't say what exactly, but he worked in tech. He was a very like dominant alpha, suit every day, head of whatever was going on. And he was locked in a cage all day because he liked, and this is what I also read about this, is he liked giving up the control.
Yes.
So it wasn't about, technically about the pleasure of it from a physical standpoint. It was that he was not alpha in that situation, and he got to kind of shed that a little bit and give that away.
Right. It's kind of the concept of like the yin and yang, right? Like these people have, if they're powerful, in their work life, right? If they're a C-suite executive, they might want to get tied up and and pegged at home, you know, or vice versa. If maybe they take a lesser role at work, they might want to be more assertive at home.
Right.
There's people. Oftentimes that's not the case. Of course, that's just generally speaking. But it is interesting to see. It's like. It's like when you watch a game, right? When you watch a football or baseball or whatever type of game it is, and like the team that's supposed to win wins, it's like, oh well, that's okay. It's what's supposed to happen. But when there's an upset, you're like, whoa, what the fuck happened here?
Right.
And it's kind of like with like seeing like when you see people that like seem like very submissive, or at least that's their appearance, or they seem very alpha and dominant. And that's the way they really are. There's nothing surprising about that.
Right.
But when like they act one way and then they're the complete opposite in the bedroom.
Right.
That really interests me.
Well, and you always, and like you guys listening know as well, you come across those people where like you come across this chick that's an absolute fucking bitch and you're like, oh, she likes to get fucking fucked in the bedroom. Yeah. We know quite a few people like that.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And the funny thing is like there's a lot of like feminists who are like men haters who actually like to get fucked by men. Like
isn't that an interesting kind? Yeah, we know. He's like firsthand.
Yes.
You got your feminist flag, your patch.
A few times.
So there you go. But that goes to show that like it's usually. We know those people, sometimes they're even super religious people that are the exact opposite. You guys are probably thinking of someone right now in your head that that's like that. People are like that.
Yeah, it's a proverbial preacher's daughter, right? Like you're going to grow up thinking this is the way it is, this is the box you're going to live in, and then you get a slight taste of something outside of that.
Right.
And realize that like, not only is this out there, but like there's a whole community where it's normalized, whatever this is,
right.
Then you're much more apt to go and explore that. And then oftentimes like, like being the preacher's daughter scenario, like you're on one side of the pendulum and then they hop out and they swing to the complete other side.
Right.
And fucking shit breaks loose,
Yeah, I think we also live just like so in a world where we care so much what other people think that like, being a few years deep into this, I've said this a few times, like, shit, had I known this, like, a little bit sooner, you probably couldn't catch me in a fucking relationship, you know what I mean? Because, like...
Where would you be, panning after it?
Probably had...
it's almost like you've thought about this and you want to say...
I haven't. No, I haven't, But I was just thinking, like, how much fun would it be to, like, and you and I both feel this way, which is why we have such a great relationship, because we're not like, we're fucking married, you can't go anywhere, I can't go anywhere, don't look good anywhere. But I feel like had I known...
you go out and do whatever you want.
We're going to save this. The marriage is coming back afterwards. Out.
We need to start a marriage show or something.
No, but I feel like we live in such a world where, like, you know, you can't even, like, step out of that box that you're talking about because you're scared what your neighbor's going to go tell so-and-so, who also knows, you know, your boss that you work with, who also happens to work with your mom, and blah, 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 all the bullshit that goes with that. Like, we are so scared to try new things. That's why, like, any of my friends, I'm like, you should try it before you talk shit about it. Like, you never know what you could be into. And, like, half the time the people talking shit are the ones that are into the weirdest stuff or the kinkiest stuff. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you talk about people living inside the box and how it confines you, you know. I've been very open in the past about me drinking and how I drink a lot, right? And that all changed in 2018, and part a lot to do with going to see a Tony Robbins event. I mean, it was very impactful in my life, and I'll never forget him talking about this. He was saying that he's like, people live inside these boxes. He was going like in the detail about this, what you're saying. He's like, and we live inside these boxes, and we really want to be kind of outside of those and exploring and doing different things. He goes, but everybody gets confined into this box, right? And we get in the box, and we drive to work in this box, and we walk inside this building that's a box, and we go inside this cubicle that's a box. And he's going through all these different box scenarios, right? Yeah. And he goes to the day, he's like, and then you drive home in this box, and you walk inside your house that's a box, and you go inside the refrigerator that's a box, and pull out a can that's a cylinder and crack it, and think that's going to solve your problems. And it was like, holy shit! Like when I heard that, it was just so impactful on me, because I was like, that's it's just like, that's just the way that I was living my life, especially at that time. And just looking around me, it's like, I think that's the way that most of us do, you know, and it's not until you kind of reach outside onto those and step outside those boundaries a little bit, you know, and oftentimes it's like people, you know, like I think the best setup for that would be just like someone in business, right? Like, yeah, they work at this company, but they have this little side hustle, and they really want to go after that. But this company has good benefits. They've been there for the past 10, 15 years, you know, and they don't feel comfortable leaving that because, you know, all of these reasons why. The wife, kids, fucking mortgage, and everything else. But they know that, like, if they were to really go after that, they would be happy. Right. And what they don't know is that, like, if you're to go after that and you are making yourself happy, you're really going to push to make that work.
And I think, like, you know, people don't like that either. Like, when you are pushing through what the norms are and trying new things or doing new things in your life. Yeah. So, you know, the biggest advice that we can give you guys is to, you know, you really only get one life, and life is very, very, very short. You know, we've had people pass recently that it's just like, makes you realize life is very short. So live your life for you, live a life that makes you happy. And, like, if you wake up every day and you're not very grateful to be able to breathe or to be able to live where you live or get up and go to your job, then I recommend that you change things and move things around, because you don't want to look back on life and wish that you would have done things differently, because life is too short, for sure.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it's like we've mentioned this before on the podcast, the Steve Jobs commencement speech at Stanford in 2005. And then that he says, you know, where he talks about looking at himself in the mirror every day, and he asks himself, am I about to, you know, to paraphrase, and he says it much more eloquently, but Is he going to be happy with what he's about to do that day? And if he has too many days in a row where he is not going to be happy doing it, he's like, I know I need to make a change.
Yeah.
And whatever that means, right? And there's all aspects of life, right? There's finance, there's health, there's relationships, there's all this shit, right? That we all have to deal with. Everything's fluid, and everybody deals with situations. So, and at different times in life, some people are at a high point in life right now, and some people are at a low point in life. But it goes like this, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's why we have kind of just dedicated our lives to talking about good sex, because
yeah,
it's kind of just what we know.
And it's kind of the cure to everything. It's well, just communicate and have some good sex. And that's what else. I recommend that if you're like maybe wanting to try something new, like I think the best way to approach your partner is maybe say, hey, I don't know if we'd be into this or if I'd even be into this, but I'd like to try something new with you. Yeah. And if you'd be open to it, then let's do it. And it'd be really cool. And if you're not open to that, I completely understand. I just wanted to be open and honest with you as much as I could.
Yeah, exactly. And people, you know, we get contacted all the time from people asking, me and my partner, we've been married or whatever it is, and I want to bring this up to them, and I want to try this, but I don't know how to ask them. How can I bring this up to them? And it's like, well, you bring it up to them. Like it's uncomfortable, you know, but that's the whole point. You know? Now, of course, you try to find a way, and the thing is that everybody's different, right? So like you have to know your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever, and how to maybe craft that would, you know, be more palatable to them. But like at some point you're just gonna have to fucking be like, hey, like maybe you're just like walking one day and you just kind of throw it out there about whatever it is.
And here's
like,
the
hey,
thing.
I kind of want to be pegged and masked. You know, start
Did you see that bee?
Yeah. Was that a bird? I want to be pegged. Yeah, that's it.
And here's the thing, like your partner's either going to be receptive and open to it, or they're not going to, and they'll still be open to communicating with you. They just won't be open to it, or they, you know, the communication will not go very well, and maybe that shows that you have a little bit more to work on in your relationship, and you guys can kind of focus in on that communication a little bit. Right.
Yeah, because if it doesn't go good, right, the conversation, which is understandable. Just because you bring something up to somebody and it's what you're into doesn't mean that they will be receptive of it. And you can't expect that either. That's an expectation.
Right.
But also at the same time, like if the conversation goes sour in that, there may be more there, as you're suggesting.
Right.
And it's just so important for people to be able to communicate. And also, you know, I've met people that, and you see this quite often to where you know, like one person will be into something and the other one's not. So like they're allowed to go explore whatever that is with, you know, like if it's a guy, I'm just going to throw this out there, a married couple, right? Man and a woman, and fucking the dude's like, he asks his chick, he's like, hey, I want to get pegged. And she's like, well, I'm not really into pegging, but yeah, I'm okay if you just like want to fucking, you know, like, have pegged. Some dildos or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You do you, but that's not my thing. And then who knows, that might open up a whole new thing. And then the thing is she might be, you know, a lot more vulnerable with you after you telling her that you want to get pounded.
Yeah,
in the
and
ass.
she's like, hey, can we have a threesome? Like, yeah, we can have a threesome. Yeah, definitely. Before we sign off on the episode, I do have a hilarious comment I would like to read from Reddit. Oh, gosh. I came across this and I said, oh my gosh, I have to read this. Okay, it says, oops, I accidentally sent the wrong picture to my boss who has the same name as mine and my husband's third. What's crazy is the video shows me getting drilled by my husband. I'm wearing a mini skirt. I have my wig on with my cock flopping around on a leash being held by my hubby while my boss got a hold of this and told most of the people in our company. Even showed a few pictures, all the while knowing I loved it, basically dripping in my suit as he told more and more people. I ended up having to cage myself at work. The ironic thing is, about a week later, my boss called me into his office late one night to get dressed up, take his big cock. I obliged, and we still fuck 10 years later while my hubby jerks his tiny cock and his wife plays with that pussy while her man goes balls deep in another man's ass.
And they all load up and go to church on Sunday, probably.
Ain't that the truth? Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode. If you could please leave a 5-star review, I'd be very grateful. And I hope that you guys have a kick-ass day.
Thank you. See it.